Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk. Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Crystal Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course, we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campia.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to this. Well, it's kind of like Monday for us because we didn't have a Monday show. I was a little bit under the weather. Sorry about that, guys. Good morning, Crystal. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad to be back.
It's good for all of us to be back. And listen, we're going to kick off today. Before we get into the movie news, got a couple of really cool announcements to make. First of all, we mentioned this last week, but it's time to mention it again. Today, tickets have gone on sale at AMC Theaters for the upcoming Thor Marathon. We are so excited about this. It's going to be Thor, Avengers, and then Thor: The Dark World premiering at 8 p.m. The cost for a ticket for all three movies is $25, and that includes a collectible special lanyard and poster. So we are going to put a link in the show notes to the amctheaters.com page where you can get all the information. You can see where every theater that it's playing in, where you can get your tickets. This is going to be a great event if you're somebody like me who absolutely loves the Marvel Universe and especially Thor. This is a great deal. So I know we're going to be there.
Yes.
So we hope that you will be there as well. Once again, check the show notes for the link to the AMC page where you can get your movie theater and your ticket information. This is going to be a great event. Now this is a AMC Movie Talk special announcement. You know, we started the daily AMC Movie Talk show just in January, and the growth has been amazing. We the support that you guys have given us has been absolutely fantastic. We are so grateful. We are way beyond where I hoped we would be at this point. So thank you so much. And as a result of that, we're kind of getting ready, to use Marvel terminology, to move into phase 2. And there are a couple of very cool things that are going to be happening with phase 2, maybe a couple new shows, but I'll go into details on those later. But the first step in phase 2 for us is AMC Movie Talk is moving into a brand new studio where we're going to be shooting the show from starting this coming Monday. We have entered into a really good relationship with the Stream TV, which is a great studio right in Hollywood. And it's going to be basically upping the production value of AMC Movie Talk quite a bit. We're very excited to be moving in there. As a matter of fact, as soon as we're finished this show, Crystal Lee and I and Dennis and a couple others, we're going to be going over to the new studio to do some stuff over there. Very, very pumped about it. We'll have more details this week. But once again, AMC Movie Talk starts shooting from its new home at the Stream TV studios in Hollywood, California, starting this coming Monday. We're very, very stoked about it. One other thing I want to share with people. Well, I get every once in a while, I get very cool tweets and very cool messages on Facebook from some AMC Movie Talk fans. And I got this one from John Mattinson, who I can only assume he heard me saying that we had a big announcement to make. And the announcement was about moving into a new studio, upping the production value. It's going to be awesome. And I guess he was wondering if the new announcement was I was going to be the new Joker, which is, a very logical thing. And he made this image, which I'm going to share here. He made this image of me as the Joker. All I can say is, dude, that is some phenomenal Photoshop work. Some absolutely first-rate Photoshop work, dude. So kudos to John Mattinson for putting that together. Thank you so much. That looks really cool. And with all that, I guess it's time for us to get started.
Let's get into movie news. All right, in a recent lecture, screenwriter David Goyer, who wrote such films as Christopher Nolan's Batman series and the recent Superman film, Man of Steel, was asked about the notion of Superman killing. His answer shed some light on the events of Man of Steel, but also about where we could see Superman go from here. Here's his answer at length. We are pretty sure that was going to be controversial, Goyer said. It's not like we were deluding ourselves, and we weren't just doing it to be cool. We felt in the case of Zod, we wanted to put the character in an impossible situation and make an impossible choice. This is one area, and I've written comic books as well, and this is where I disagree with some of my fellow comic book writers. Superman doesn't kill. It's a rule that exists outside of the narrative, and I just don't believe in rules like that. I believe when you're writing film or television, you can't rely on a crutch or rule that exists outside of the narrative of the film. So the situation was, Zod says, I'm not going to stop until you kill me or I kill you. The reality is no prison on the planet could hold him, and in our film, Superman can't fly to the moon. And we didn't want to come up with that crutch. Also, our movie was in a way Superman Begins. He's not really Superman until the end of the film. We wanted him to have that experience of having taken a life and carry that through onto the next films. Because he's Superman, and because people idolize him, he will have to hold himself to a higher standard. John John, what do you think of Goyer's comments?
I got to completely agree with all his comments, and I think it's very interesting where I believe this is going to lead us. You know, Schnepp and I did a special 10-minute video specifically on the topic of would Superman kill? And, you know, our conclusion was, yes, Superman would kill because of a couple things. Number one, he has killed in the comic books before. That's been well established. And most importantly, he was kind of put into a no-win situation. You know, a lot of people will talk about the end of Superman or of Man of Steel and say, you know, oh, he should have taken the fight out into the desert, or he should have taken the fight in space. Guess what? He had been Superman at that point for less than 24 hours. I mean, he didn't really know. And he's fighting a lifelong dude who was bred to be a warrior. And that fight was going to happen wherever Zod wanted the fight to happen. And Zod was saying, my intention, just so you know, Kal-El, is to kill everybody. I'm going to destroy everything until either you or I are dead. That was the reality. And in that reality, Superman kills him, and he had to. There was no choice. It's like Goyer said, it was an impossible choice in an impossible situation. Now, what I really like about Goyer's comments here is not just reflecting back on Man of Steel, but the fact that that choice, that decision that he had to make, I believe is going to take us into the next Man of Steel film and into Justice League. I believe that moment where he kills Zod, and we see in the film like how torn up he is about that, how devastated he was that he had to make that choice, screaming out in agony. I believe that moment is going to be a very significant thing moving into the future films. I think we're going to see that shape. And I believe Goyer is alluding to this, that decision and that moment in that film is going to shape what Superman is and what Superman becomes and how he views himself and his power and developing his own moral code of conduct. And I believe killing is going to be a part of that and how that's all going to play out. So I love that Goyer was reflecting on this. I love that they put a lot of thought into that and it wasn't just some, let's just have Superman kill somebody. No, it was deliberate. I believe they had a future plan for it. I believe the scene played itself out that way. And I believe as we move forward into the next Man of Steel and in Justice League, I think that moment is going to become a key pivotal thing that's going to shape the Superman that we see on the big screen from now on.
Yeah. I also like that he mentioned not using necessarily the source material as a crutch, because I think a lot of fans of comic books are always upset with the movies because they say, well, it wasn't like the comic books. And you say all the time that it doesn't need to be. And I love that he kind of addressed that.
I agree completely.
It looks like everything is full steam ahead for the upcoming video game movie adaptation, Warcraft. Moon and source code director Duncan Jones has been set to direct the film since shortly after Sam Raimi left the project, and it now appears we might have our first two cast members. According to a reliable source, Deadline, Colin Farrell and Paula Patton are the first two actors set to join the film. Farrell won the 2009 Best Actor Golden Globe for his film In Bruges, while Paula Patton In Bruges.
I say that all the time too, though. I do.
In Bruges. My accents are terrible these days. While Paula Patton has been in such films as Mission Impossible 4, Precious, and Hitch. Patton is also married to the music star Robin Thicke. The Warcraft universe is a rich fantasy setting that revolves around the epic conflict between the opposing forces of the Horde and the Alliance. Filming is set to begin in January. John, what do you think of Farrell and Patton joining Warcraft?
I think there's several really cool things about this. First of all, Colin Farrell is a great actor.
So good.
He really is. He's been in some cheesy, bad stuff. Yes, he has. But ask anybody who knows acting. Farrell, when he turns it up and turns it on, he is a dynamite actor. And I believe he brings a very cool factor as well to the whole thing. I like that casting. I liked Patton very much in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Thought she was really solid. I haven't seen her in a ton of stuff, mind you, but I thought she was very good in that. So but really what it comes down to is in this world, it really depends on, okay, Colin Farrell's a great actor, but what are you using him for? Patton can be a great actress, but what are you using her for? Is she going to be an elf? Is she going to be an orc? Is she going to be a human? Is she going to be a dwarf? I mean, we don't know. So it's difficult to say at this point whether or not we think it's a good fit for a film like this when we have absolutely no idea. Forget what character they're going to be playing. What race are they going to be playing? I mean, it's a whole different ballpark, so it's difficult to say. But I will say this. As a fan of the Warcraft games, and as a guy who has said for now 5 years that out of all video game movies that suck, that if any video game has the potential to really turn in a really great movie, it's Warcraft. I'm excited about this. I'm excited that Duncan Jones has been the director. I have been ever since he was named as the replacement for Sam Raimi. And hearing that, They're going to start shooting in January. It makes it all a lot more tangible and a lot more real. So me personally, I'm really stoked for this. All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy and sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chrisley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and I'm simply going to say whether I buy it or sell it. So, Chrisley, what do we got?
2 new posters for the upcoming Shailene Woodley film, Divergent, have hit the web, which you can see here. Divergent is a thrilling adventure set in a future world where people are divided into distinct factions based on their personalities. Triss Pryor, played by Woodley, is warned she is divergent and will never fit into any one group. When she discovers a conspiracy to destroy all divergents, she must find out what makes being divergent so dangerous before it's too late. Divergent opens in AMC theaters everywhere on March 21st. John, buy or sell these posters?
Yeah, I gotta sell them. I must admit, I'm curious about the film. I gotta say, which I didn't think I would be at first, but the more I read about the film, I am curious about the film. But the thing about these posters is, there's nothing to them.
Yeah.
There's not an artistic point of view to it. But remember, I'm not always about artistry in a poster. Give me a poster that kind of gives me a snapshot that kind of sums up what this movie really feels like and is. And I'm not really buying that these posters do that. Now, maybe the tattoos that we see in these posters, those play a significant role, and that's significant. But as somebody who didn't read the books, I don't know them. So from that point of view, I got to sell it.
I sell the posters, but buy the movie. I'm just starting the books because I read them a long time ago, and I wanted to kind of familiarize myself with it. And so I'm getting excited for the movie. Rapper turned actor Common is in negotiations to join Liam Neeson, Joel Kinnaman, and Ed Harris in Warner Brothers' action movie Run All Night. The film follows Liam Neeson, who plays a mob hitman who is forced to take on his former boss, played by Harris, in a single night. He has to protect his son and family and winds up on the run from the mob and the authorities with his estranged son. Common will play Harris' most trusted killer, a cool and calculated man who lets nothing get in his way. John, buy or sell Common joining Run All Night?
I got to buy it. First of all, I love the sounds of this movie. Liam Neeson as somebody you don't want to mess with is always a win for me. But Common is one of these very, very rare dudes who I think has successfully been able to transition from music to the movie world. There are a couple of guys who have done it. Not a lot, but a couple, and he's one of them.
Yes.
I really liked him in Wanted. I liked him a lot in Wanted. I really liked him in Date Night. I liked him in Date Night a lot. I really liked him in The Odd Life of Timothy Green, playing like the soccer coach. Who saw that coming? So, yeah, put him in. Now, it does kind of feel like he's a little bit typecast in. He's a contract killer. Gee, where have we seen that before?
Yeah.
Okay, Common is. But you know what? Put him in there with Liam Neeson, Ed Harris. You kidding me? This sounds like a win. All the way around for me, it's a buy.
I've loved him since Just Right, which I wouldn't be shocked if you haven't seen because total chick flick, but I've loved him since Just Right, and he does have versatility as an actor, so it's exciting. Actor Arnold Schwarzenegger tweeted that filming starts today for his new film, Maggie, co-starring Abigail Breslin. In the film, as a virus spreads across the country, a farm family helps their eldest daughter come to terms with her infection as she slowly becomes, wait for it, a flesh-eating zombie. John, buy or sell The Sounds of Maggie?
Against all of my better judgment, because I am so tired of zombie movies because they're all the same. I gotta admit, I buy it. This looks at it from a little bit of a different point of view. That's what I liked about World War Z, right? It was kind of a different vantage point on the stereotypical seen it 1,000 times zombie genre movie. And this sounds like it's different as well. It's like the daughter is infected and it's a slow process and the family's just there supporting her through. This sounds fascinating and not a film, if you described it to me, that I would think Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not at all. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's a great thing. Maybe it's a terrible thing. I don't know. Trying to see him maybe pull off some very heart-touching, feely, dramatic moments with a daughter turning into a zombie. I mean, I don't know if that'll work or not. But hey, you got me intrigued. So for me, it's going to be a buy.
Flesh-eating zombie is always a buy.
Always a buy.
Just saying. As you all know, the true sequel to Dumb and Dumber is now in full motion. Yesterday, Jim Carrey released the first picture of him and Emmy award-winning actor Jeff Daniels back in their Harry and Lloyd costumes. John, buy or sell this picture of Harry and Lloyd?
I've got to buy this. Are you kidding me? It's so strange. It is. I know I've said this before, but I got to say it again. It is so strange looking at Jeff Daniels, either when I'm watching Dumb and Dumber again and watching him in that movie, or seeing him in this picture and realizing this is the same guy from Newsroom.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who just won the Emmy for Newsroom. Okay, as Best Actor in a Dramatic Series. This is the same guy. I got to bring this picture up again because this is just too gold. I mean, look at these guys.
Brilliant.
They look exactly the same plus 20 years.
Yes.
You know, exactly the same plus 20 years. This is exactly how I would want them to look. I am excited that they look this way. I think this is so cool. I can't wait for this movie. Were you a fan of the original Dumb and Dumber movie?
Huge fan, mostly because most of it was filmed in Rhode Island, where I am from. The big blue bug, favorite moment in the movie. But I am such a fan, and I'm such a huge fan of Jeff Daniels. And we talk about this all the time. I can't believe Newsroom, Dumb and Dumber, like same guy, but he's brilliant, and I'm so excited to see him and Jim Carrey team back up.
They're going to be great. All right, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you would like us to address on the show, you can email them to us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, every day, we pick out a couple of messages from the Mailbag. Chrisley's got a few pulled out, so Chrisley, what do we got?
Kenneth Crawley writes, "Hello, AMC Movie Talk crew and John. Love the show and watch it all the time. My question is on a recent show you guys mentioned the top 10 superhero films, comic book films of all times, but left out Superman, the movie from 1978 off the list. Why is that? For me, it's the best Superman film, and Christopher Reeve's take on Superman, Clark Kent, is awesome. Yes, the film had some campy stuff in it, but I found it enjoyable, and for me, it's the second best comic book movie behind the Avengers.
Wow.
Your thoughts? Keep up the great work." Those are some strong words by Kenneth.
Them's some big
strong words.
Fighting words. Okay, first of all, let's start with this. Whenever you put together a top 10 list about a subjective topic, and all movie is subjective, anybody who tells you that movies aren't subjective are a blithering idiot. Just ignore anything they say from now on. Film is subjective. There's no absolute right. It's not quantifiable. And by definition, anything that is not quantifiable, measurable, is by nature subjective. It's a matter of taste and opinion. So when I put together a top 10 list, which I did a few weeks ago, of what I call the all-time greatest top 10 comic book superhero films, your list is not going to look like mine. And just because that happens, that doesn't mean your list is better. It doesn't mean my list is better. It's just my list. Film is subjective. So let's keep that in mind. Now, let's move on to Superman. There's no denying that the 1978 Christopher Reeve Superman is groundbreaking. I mean, it was pivotal, and it changed the game forever. You know, there's just no denying that. But I do believe that superhero and comic book films over the decades have gotten better. They got worse for a while. There's no denying that either. But overall, they've gotten better. You know, it's kind of like what's the best way to put this? It's kind of like saying whoever won the gold medal in sprinting in the 1940s, that was the greatest sprinter of all time. Oh, okay, yeah, he whoever that was, it set the world record and whatever, broke records, blah, blah, blah. They changed the game. They changed sprinting forever. Granted, but now every single sprinter today is better than that sprinter was. Now, maybe they're not as good compared to their contemporaries as the guy in 1940s was compared to his contemporaries. Maybe, Thor: The Dark World won't be as good in comparison to its contemporary films as Superman in 1978 was to its contemporaries. That's, you got to take all these things into consideration. All I'm saying is there's no denying the 1978 Superman's place in history. That being said, I do believe building on the shoulders of the 1978 Superman, building on what the 1978 Superman built, and building on top of that, I believe that superhero films and comic book movies have gotten better and better and better and better to the point that now they're some of the best movies of the year consistently every year, and some bad ones too. But so yeah, I stand by my list when I make that list, and I don't include the 1978 Superman in the top 10. That doesn't mean I don't love it or cherish it or recognize its place in history. I just think, from my point of view, if you really sit down and just watch it for the first time, watch the 1978 Superman, and then watch Avengers, or watch The Dark Knight, or watch Iron Man, that I don't believe that 1978 Superman is as good as those movies. in relation to its time and its era. Absolutely. There's no denying its place in history. But for me, it didn't make my list. Doesn't mean I don't respect it. Doesn't mean I don't honor it. Doesn't mean I don't love it. It just didn't happen to be in my personal top 10 list. Nothing wrong at all for it being on yours. Because we all have different lists. It's all subjective. So that's why Man of Steel, or I should say, the 1978 Christopher Reeve Superman didn't make my personal list. But it's certainly a great film and a historic film at that.
For sure. Jonathan Burnett writes, greetings and salutations, movie talkers. I'm a big fan. I have a thought. If Marvel should do a third Avengers, what do you think of Michael J. White being cast to take on the role of Black Panther? Since Wesley Snipes had to be lobbying for that role for years. Jay White is slightly younger and in premium shape, can act, and is a martial artist. This should make him the total package.
Would you say it would make him Ralph? And that's an inside joke for those of you who have been watching us for a while now. Look, I have been lobbying. I have been cheering the idea of a Michael Jai White for Black Panther for long. Look, I've liked him in everything he's been in. He's a character. He is an absolute character.
Yeah.
And he can act. He's not one of the world's great thespians, but he can act. And he is a legit martial artist. Mm-hmm. Everything you want. And I absolutely became a massive fan of his after watching Black Dynamite. If you have not seen Black Dynamite, do yourself a favor and rent it. It is absolutely hilarious. I love that movie and I love him in it. So I've been a champion of Michael Jai White as Black Panther for a long time now. That being said, whenever I mention the idea of Michael Jai White as Black Panther, the one objection, and this is a legit objection, that I get people coming back at me with is this. Michael Jai White is 45 years old. It's challenging, not impossible. It's challenging to start a new action franchise with a dude who is currently 45 years old. Granted, I concede the point, it is. But that being said, we are about to see in the upcoming Expendables 3, we're about to see a villain, Mel Gibson, in the best shape of his life. And he's like 20 years older than Michael Jai White. I would still personally make it Michael Jai White. Wesley Snipes is even older now. I think he's 51 or 52 or something like that. But Michael Jai White, I would put him in, but I do concede the point that it is a concern about his age. You'd idealistically want to look for somebody in their early 30s probably, but all other things being equal, to me, Jai White just brings too many things to the table, too talented, just great for the screen, great for the character, can bring that action. He brings so many more tools to the table than I think a lot of other guys could, despite the age difference. So personally, I would still give it to Jai White, but I understand it as a concern for people who are worried about his age.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that will do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Listen, if you haven't done so already, stop what you're doing, take a second, and click on that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. Keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, and of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show and our weekend AMC Mailbag show. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. And listen, folks, Thor! The Dark World is coming. You want to go see this trilogy. $25 for all three films. Thor, Avenger, Thor, The Dark World on the big screen, the way movies are meant to be seen. And a collector's lanyard and poster. Head on over to the link that you'll find in the description over at the AMC.com webpage, and you can get all your information on which theaters is playing in and how you can get your tickets. Very, very key. So thank you so much, folks, for joining us. My name is John Campia. For my lovely co-host, Crystal Lee Kennedy, thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.